I'm going to make a simple recommendation for you. I'm going to tell you where I think that you're going to fit best. I'm going to show you a couple of options. And if we see something that makes sense, we're going to submit a request for coverage to see if there's something that you're eligible for.
I'm like, what's the dream of? What's the hope in? What's the doubt for? Live to no end. This is living. The life I've been given is a gift. If I'm a living, I'ma live it to death. So what's the dream of? What's the hope in? What's the doubt for? And live to no end. This is living. The life I've been given is a gift. If I'm a living, I'ma live it to death. Yeah.
Welcome to the Living Hope Agency call. Tonight, I'm very excited to be able to talk about one of my favorite topics, which is structure in the home and taking control. Okay, I think it's one of the most important things that you can do. In previous weeks, we've talked about how to dial the phone like a top producer. We've talked about the mindset and the posture behind how to get the appointments. Because if you don't have any appointments, if you don't have any leads, you're dead in the water and you don't have anything. But what happens now, I look back to my first production day. I remember when I sat down and I set 12 appointments on my first, day. And now I was kind of terrified, like, okay, crap, I have to actually go see these families. What's about to happen next? And I remember I was so focused on how do I master this phone script and actually just get these appointments that I didn't feel like I was prepared. And I almost wanted to take more time to prepare before I actually went and saw my first client. And I remember I sat down and I watched this video by Paul McLean. And if any of you guys have been through boot camp, you've probably seen this video. It's called The 8 Steps to a Final Expense in Home. Excuse me, The 8 Steps to a Final Expense in Home. And I watched this video and I was like, wow, I wish that I could just remember those steps. I wish that I could bring my notes into the home with me and I could just follow through so I wouldn't forget what to say, because that's what I was most concerned about. I didn't want to look like I was brand new. I didn't want the client to know that I didn't know what I was talking about, and I was just afraid. And then I thought to myself, and I kind of had the light bulb go off, well, what if I could bring my notes into the home? And that's when it kind of happened. And I realized I can bring my notes into the home. And I typed out the 8 steps to an in-home, and I wrote the word agenda at the top. And the in-home agenda was born. It just brought so much confidence for me as a brand new producer. And whether you use an agenda or you don't use an agenda, you don't have to use an agenda. I'm at a point where I don't really use my agenda anymore because it's just so ingrained in my brain. But like the way that I learn is by reading things, seeing them, and doing it over and over and over again until I'm meticulous. And I say the same thing every single time. If you were to be a fly in the wall in any of my in-homes, regardless of the appointment, other than the specific details of each person's plan, my in-home's pretty much the same. My open is pretty much the same. My close is pretty much the same. Just insert some individual details into it. So it's all about increasing credibility, reducing sales pressure. You guys are going to hear me say that a million times. If you guys have been here for a while, this might be review for you, but it's always good to take some time to master the basics. There's a lot of people on here who are brand new, and I love doing this call and this topic over and over again. If you go to my YouTube channel, this topic is in probably 6 or 7 different videos because it's that important. Because if you don't structure your in-home, you'll lose control. And when you lose control and the client gains control, that's when you start getting objections like, I need to think about it, or I'm not sure if we can afford it, or you're a really great guy, you're a really great girl, and when we do buy, we'll definitely buy from you, but we don't make decisions on the first day. And one of the best ways that you can overcome objections is by not getting them at all, by setting the table and having a great structure and control in the home that you avoid objections. This is not going to be an objection clinic. This is going to be an in-home structure and agenda training where I'm going to show you guys exactly what I say. I'm going to walk you guys through a mock in-home. So I think one of the most important things to note is that this is not that complex of a sale. And I think that so many people, they build this up to something where they think that they have to be the fanciest salesperson in the world. You really don't. This is something where if you can learn how to say just a few sentences, a few paragraphs in a structured way with a good posture, then walk through a financial inventory, find out what they're looking for, and just take control and say, hey, here's what we're going to do today. You can get the sale. It's not a complex process. So I want to talk about the in-home agenda a little bit. This is something that you guys can find on familyfirstlifeamerica.com under the downloads tab. Okay, familyfirstlifeamerica.com under the downloads tab. Now, I'm not going to go super deep into it. I'm just going to read through it and give you guys the basic steps. And then I'm actually going to walk you through it and give you the word tracks. So if you're taking notes, you don't necessarily need to write everything I'm about to say in the 8 steps down word for word, because you can go download this off of fflamerica.com. But on the agenda, so I've got my state license on one side, and I've got my agenda here on the other side. So at any point, I can just have my folder in front of me. And if I'm ever feeling frazzled or I don't know what direction to go, I can always just look down at my agenda and I know exactly what comes next. So the first thing that we do in the home is we always figure out why they were looking for the information. The second thing, what does it look like for their family if no insurance is in place? Number 3, who you are. Number 4, what we're going to do today. Number 5, our goals for today. Number 6, we're going to go through the financial inventory. Number 7, we're going to show you the options, go through the quotes, the options. And then number 8, we're actually going to fill something out and see if you qualify. So very, very simple. You can put this in front of a client and it's going to just provide the structure that builds credibility, because everything that we do is all about going there to not come off as a salesperson. A salesperson sits down with a fancy presentation. One of the first things that I do when I walk into the home is I say, all right, good news, guys, I have no fancy presentation. And it's like their walls go down, their shoulders drop, they unclench their arms that are crossed, because I just reduce sales pressure by just letting them know, hey, there's no fancy presentation. We're just going to go real quick. And I'm just going to ask you guys a couple of questions. So I'm going to break this down and we're just going to go directly from the knock. And let's see if I can get somebody on here to participate with me. Let's see. All right. Well, I always pick on Mike Curry. So Mike, you out there, man? You down to participate with me? Do a quick in-home?
Yeah, let's roll.
All right, let's do it, bro. All right. So I'm going to come knock on the door and we're just going to pretend that we're going to do a really simple one. You're going to be a single elderly guy who is trying to leave some money behind for his son, because you want to just take care of a burial cremation. That's probably one of the most popular lead types that we're going to run across. Sound good?
Sounds good. Let's roll.
All right. And try not to give me too many objections. I'll definitely overcome them, but we're gonna go through this one pretty quick. So, knock knock.
Come in.
Hey, Mike. I'm Jamie. I'm here about your life insurance. Do you prefer shoes on or shoes off?
You can leave your shoes on.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, my mom would kill me if I didn't ask. And then I wipe my feet on the doorstep. I wipe my feet on the mat right after that. This is like an old sales technique where you wipe your feet on the doormat before you come in. It just shows respect before you walk into someone's house. We walk in the front door and I go, kitchen table, okay?
Yeah, let's go there.
All right, perfect, man. So we sit down at the kitchen table. At this point, I'm unpacking my bag. I pull out my binder, and inside of my binder, I've got my lead cards. Okay, so I pull out my lead card. I set that down on the table, and I also pull out one of my my pre-done folders here. And I basically have my pen, my folder, lead card, state license in front of me. And I go, okay, Mike, slide the lead card in front of him. Can you just go ahead and confirm for me that your first name, your last name, your phone number, your birthday, your address, all that stuff spelled correct? Give me any corrections if I need to. Does that all look good?
Yep, that's correct.
Okay. And then this right here, this is my state license, just so you can verify that I'm not some crazy person, that I am who I say I am. And you're actually going to get a copy of that. I'm going to send you a text message of it after this appointment. Sound fair?
Perfect.
All right, perfect. Now, Mike, can you just, I guess, give me an idea of what was going through your mind and why you sent this into our office, why you were looking for life insurance?
Yeah, I just want to leave some money behind for my son, make sure final expenses are taken care of, and maybe a little extra after that.
Okay, gotcha. And what's your son's name?
Mason.
Mason. Okay, got it. And so basically what I'm hearing is you just kind of want to make sure that if you pass away, Mason doesn't have to worry about it, that there's no burdens left behind, that he can take care of, burial, cremation, whatever you want to do. And, if possible, there's a little bit extra money left behind for him. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, that's perfect. I want to leave a lot of money behind. So we're going to make sure, burial is covered, and that's about it.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay, perfect. So what I kind of did there, guys, and what I want you guys to take note of is that when you're sitting down and you pull the why out of somebody, whether he goes super deep into it or not, the goal is always to revoice back to them what it is that they just said. Even if you're saying back the exact same words. I mean, this is like elementary type stuff, but you need to revoice back to them and get a confirmation of why they filled it out. And if Mike just said, I just wanted to see what it looked like. You wanted to see what looked like. I wanted to see what the price was. You wanted to see what the price was for what? I want to see what the price was to leave some money behind for my son. You wanted to see what the price was to leave some money behind for your son for what? To take care of my burial and cremation. Got it. Okay. So what you're basically telling me is you want to leave some money behind for Mason to make sure that your burial and cremation are taken care of. Yes. Perfect. Okay. So I don't move on until I get that confirmation, until I'm able to actually go through that and figure that out. And now I'll ask him, okay, so Mike, what happens if you don't have anything like this in place? Like, do you think that Mason would be able to pay for your burial cremation?
Yeah, he could probably figure it out, but I don't want him to have to do that.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. I'm sure that he could figure it out, but you're obviously, I'm not saying this, but Mike's elderly in this situation, guys. So, we're going to pretend that Mason's an adult at this point because Mason's actually a toddler, but, or a little bit older than a toddler, but, okay. So, obviously your son could figure it out, but who's got, $10,000 laying around? He's got a mortgage. He's got kids of his own, everything like that. Mike typically agrees with me at that point. Okay, perfect. So, all right. So here's what we're going to do here today, Mike. I got no fancy presentation for you. This is going to be super simple. I'm just going to ask you a couple questions. And at this point, what I'm doing is I'm pulling out the credibility sheet. Okay. Sliding this in front of Mike. And I go, okay, Mike. So here's who I am. I'm what's considered a medical underwriter. I'm not the insurance sales guy. Okay. So don't worry about that. I'm not here to sell you anything. I don't have any fancy presentation. I'm just the underwriter who's here to figure out what it is that you might be eligible for. Now, what I am is I'm a broker, meaning that I work with all the insurance companies, but I don't work for any of them. So it means I can shop around for you. And at that point, I'm kind of waving my hand over all the carriers and they're like nodding their head, okay, you can shop around. And I'm also what's considered non-captive. Captive is like State Farm. If I worked for State Farm, I'd be required to show you State Farm. Whereas I'm not loyal to any of these companies. It doesn't really matter to me who you end up with, Mike, or honestly, even if you end up with anybody, my job is just to make a good recommendation for you. Now, here's one thing I've started throwing lately whenever I have somebody who could be my parents or my grandparents. I go, and Mike, I sit with about 40 or 50 families a week. So my philosophy is, if you were my grandpa, what direction would I point you in? And I wouldn't point my grandpa in a direction that would financially hurt him. I would only put him in a position that would strengthen his position. Does that make sense? And they always say, yeah, that makes sense. If I'm sitting with, people that could be my mom and dad, I'd be like, everyone I sit down with, I pretend like they're my mom and dad. And I'm going to point them in the direction of something that's only going to help them and not hurt them. Is that okay with you guys? They always say, yes, that's okay. Perfect. All right, Mike. So here's what we're going to do today. I flip over the credibility sheet and I got the financial inventory. Mike, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go through about 2 minutes of health questions, about a minute on your finance, and about a minute on any past insurance you may or may not have. And based on how you answer those questions, I'm going to make a simple recommendation for you. I'm going to tell you where I think that you're going to fit best. I'm going to show you a couple of options. And if we see something that makes sense, we're going to submit a request for coverage to see if there's something that you're eligible for. Does that make sense?
Yep, that makes sense.
Perfect. So real simple. I tell them who I am. I'm a broker. I'm a field underwriter. I'm a non-captive agent. And here's what we're going to do today. 2 minutes on your health, 2 minutes on your finance, about a minute on any insurance you may or may not have. And based on that, I'm going to make a recommendation for you. I'm going to show you a couple options. And if we see something that makes sense, we're going to submit a request for coverage to see if you can get qualified. Now, it's just important to understand the simple word tracks that are used to gain control. Here's what we're going to do today, Mike. I'm leading. I'm not following. Mike, so, if you want to, we'll go ahead and we'll submit a request for coverage. No, here's what we're going to do today. We're going to submit a request for coverage. I'm going to ask you these questions. Then we're going to do this. Then we're going to do that. And I have the agenda in front of me, and it just provides even more structure, more control for everything that I do. So now at this point, it's just time to simply go through the financial inventory. So we won't dig too deep into this, but I go through it and I simply just ask the questions on the financial inventory. I like to start at, their income. That's just always my personal thing. So, Mike, I see down here that, your age, 65, you said you were still working. You said that you were a trucker, right?
Yep, that's what I do.
Okay, perfect. And, ballpark, what would you say your monthly income is? Your take home?
About 3 grand.
About 3 grand. Okay, gotcha. And I don't see it here, but are you a smoker or non-smoker?
Occasionally a smoke.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so you smoke a little bit. And then at this point, I jump right down to the conditions. Okay, I don't come back to the medications right away. And I jump right to the conditions. Okay, Mike, real quick. You ever had a heart attack, stroke, or cancer?
No.
No. Are you diabetic?
Yes.
Okay. You taking pills or insulin?
Both.
Okay. So you taking metformin?
Correct.
Okay, got it. So metformin and insulin, I write that down in the medication section. Okay, and do you have any blood pressure issues?
Yes.
Okay, what are you taking? You taking lisinopril,
Yep.
amlodipine? Okay, lisinopril. And you guys won't know that all right off the bat. If they say yes, can you go grab the bottles for me? I've just done this long enough that I could sit there and name off every high blood pressure medication until they tell me which one they're taking. Okay.
And the atorvastatin for
Okay.
cholesterol.
Okay, got it. So we've got metformin, insulin, lisinopril, and atorvastatin. Any lupus, rheumatoid arthritis?
No,
Any asthma, COPD?
I've got COPD.
Okay, got it. All right. And any anxiety, depression, thyroid issues?
No, sir.
Okay. Any kidney, liver disease, hepatitis?
No.
Okay, got it. Perfect. Okay, so I got here the insulin, the metformin, you got the blood pressure medication, lisinopril, atorvastatin for your cholesterol. Okay, you said COPD. You got any inhalers or anything like that? Nebulizers?
No.
Okay, so has your doctor actually diagnosed you with COPD, or you think you have COPD?
He thinks I got COPD.
Okay, so if he thinks you have COPD, you actually have COPD. Got it. Okay, perfect. And that's a big one. So I make sure I circle that. So the reason we do the conditions first is because you can save yourself a lot of time if you go through, because we go through and Mike tells me, diabetes, he doesn't have neuropathy, high blood pressure, Americo Eagle. But as soon as he says COPD, Americo Eagle's off the table. And I know, okay, COPD, I have to go a different direction. Now, Mike, this is also a very important question to ask. I've gone through the conditions. I've got the couple of medications based on the conditions. Mike, are there any other medications that you take at all?
I take an aspirin for blood thinner.
Okay. Have you had anything actually go on with your heart?
No.
Have you had any bypass surgery? Have you been on any other blood thinners or just the aspirin?
Just the aspirin.
Okay, got it. Yeah. So typically they prescribe people as they get older an aspirin. Most people take that for a blood thinner. Okay. And is there anything else in the past 5 years you've stopped taking or chosen not to take?
I don't think so.
Okay, perfect. Well, what we're going to do later is we're going to run a quick HIPAA authorization. They're actually going to check your prescription history. So anything that we missed, they're going to find anyways. It just makes my job a little bit easier. If we write down all the medications, I'm pretty good at my job. And I typically get people placed on the first try. But if there's anything that's hiding in your background, it might prevent us from, we're going to have to jump through more hoops rather than this being a quick and painless process. So if there's anything else you're leaving out, just let me know.
Yeah, we're good. We're good. That's
Okay.
all.
Perfect. Got it. Okay. So, and do you have any current life insurance, Mike?
I've got a little bit.
You've got a little bit. Okay. What's a little bit? Is it private or is it through work?
It's through work.
Okay. It's through work. Got it. Okay. And, work coverage is great. I love work coverage. I think everybody who works should take care of those benefits because they're group benefits and there's no medical stuff and it's super cheap and it just comes right out of your paycheck. But I think it's really important, Mike, for you to know that, if you ever, you're 65, you're about to retire. So when you retire, your work benefits, just like your health insurance, it's kind of like a company car and you have to give it back. So it's really good that you have work insurance, but it's also important the older that you get to make sure you get something private. You can agree why that would be valuable, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, perfect. Got it. Okay. Do you have anything that might act like life insurance, 401ks, IRAs, significant savings, anything like that? Bonds?
Yeah, I've got a 401k.
You got a 401k. Okay. Ballpark, how much would you say is in there?
About $500,000.
About $500,000. Okay. Perfect. Okay. And this house, do you own it or rent it?
I own.
You own, okay. In ballpark, how much do you think you owe on the house?
260,
260. And what do you think it's worth? What was the last appraised at?
340.
340. Okay. So you got about 80 grand in equity, give or take, depending on what the market's doing.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Okay, perfect. And what's your ballpark monthly payment?
1468.
1468. Got it. Okay, 1468. Okay. And do you pay anything extra on your mortgage to try to pay it off early?
Yeah, not really, not right now. Every now
Okay.
and then I feel sometimes I'll throw a little extra towards it, but not consistently.
Okay. So now at this point, the whole financial inventory is filled out. So now I want to show Mike what I see. So Mike originally wanted final expense, but I just found a mortgage. So I found a bigger need. I found a way to be able to raise the premium. Mike also has COPD. So that means that I cannot offer a $250,000 term because Mike has COPD. So now at this point, I need to offer whole life. But now how do I structure this whole life in a way that would make sense for Mike? So at this point, I'm not talking products yet. I'm not talking pricing. My job is to now share with Mike kind of what I've discovered, the direction that I think that we should go, and then do what's called a trial close. Okay. A trial close is when you explain something in theory, and then you say something like, and Mike, you could see why that would be valuable, right? So now here's what we're going to do. So Mike wants, and okay, Mike, so real quick, do you want to be buried or cremated?
Buried, please.
Buried. Okay. And are you familiar with the cost of burial?
No. Well, I think my cousin got buried for about $3,000.
Okay. Yeah. It must have been one of those do-it-yourself plans, because right now in North Carolina, the average burial starts at about 8,000. And if you want to get buried in like one of those golden caskets, it'll be like 30,000. Okay. So average, we'll say about like 10 to 15,000. So, all right. So we'll look at 10 to 15,000. And then what I'm also seeing here, Mike, is I'm also seeing, you've got about 260,000 left on this mortgage. Now, if something were to happen to you, obviously we want to take care of the burial cremation, but what happens to the house payment here? Would Mason just kind of have to take this over? Like, do you want him to live in this house, or do you want him to sell the house and maybe get the equity out?
Yeah, I definitely want him to sell the house and get the equity out.
Okay.
Not sure what to do with the money in my 401k. Might leave that to him to take care of the mortgage.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Now, when it comes to, 401ks and stuff like that, and things are passing from, parent to child versus spouse to spouse, sometimes there can be some holdup on different things. Things can get stuck in probate. They can get stuck in court. It can be just a little bit longer of a transfer process. So that's why it's nice to have life insurance until that stuff ultimately does pay out. But kind of what I'm seeing here, Mike, is you've got about 80,000 in equity in this house. You want to take care of your burial cremation. And if something happens to you, Mason, he might not be able to continue to pay for this mortgage. And, what happens if you can't pay for the mortgage? Well, typically either if you don't pay your mortgage, the bank takes the house, and, the bank, unfortunately, Mike, they're not your friend. The bank is going to take the equity that you've worked so hard for, which really is just money that you wanted to leave behind for Mason anyways. The alternative is that Mason's able to keep up the mortgage payments for a little bit, but ultimately some vulture real estate agent comes and they say, hey, I know the house is worth 340, but I'll give you 280 for it. And now he goes from having 80,000 in equity down to 20,000 in equity. And he loses 60,000 of what you work so hard for. And obviously, the longer that you continue to live, the more money you're going to pay into this, the more valuable your house is going to be, the more equity he could lose. And also, if there's a down market, if we have another 2008 housing situation, we need to make sure that, God forbid, he has time to be able to sit on the house in case he needs time to sell it, so he can get a proper value out of it, or until he can rent it, bring some roommates in, whatever it is that he wants to do, just so he doesn't lose it and lose all the money that you work so hard for. So you could see why it'd be important to maybe have some money in this policy to protect that as well, wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Makes sense.
Okay, perfect. So what I'm going to show you, Mike, is I'm going to show you something really simple. It's going to be something that's going to be able to take care of your burial cremation, but it's also going to leave behind anywhere between like 6 and 12 months worth of your mortgage payment, so that Mason has time to actually go and sell the house. Because number one, you just passed away. You got to imagine Mason, he's mourning. So not only does he have to figure out how to get a death certificate and cash out this life insurance and pay for your burial and get the funeral and celebration of life taken care of, but now he also needs to sell your house. He's, you got a lot of stuff around here. He's got to get this place cleaned up, cleaned out, listed, and sold. Okay. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you a couple of options. I'm going to show you one simple option, which is just a straight burial option. Another option, which is going to be about 6 months worth of mortgage payments. And then a third option that's going to be a year's worth of mortgage payments. So let me just do some quick math here. You said your mortgage payment was about $1,450.
Correct.
About 17,000 would be about a year's worth of mortgage payments. Okay, about 9,000. So we'll do 18, 9. Okay. So at this point, what I'll probably end up showing them. So I just kind of did some basic math in my head. So, a year's worth of mortgage payments was 18,000. A year worth of mortgage payments was 9,000. Burial about 10. So at this point, I can just show Mike a simple 30, 20, 10. Real simple. So 30,000 is the max amount of coverage. 20,000 is going to take care of his burial plus about 2 years worth of mortgage payments, and 10,000 will take care of just his burial. All right, so 30,000 will take care of the 1 year mortgage payments. 20,000 will take care of 6 months. And so basically here's how I'll break it down. So at this point, I kind of have an idea of what direction I want to go. So I'm like, all right, Mike, so I'm going to show you a couple of options. One's going to be straight burial. One's going to be burial plus 6 months of mortgage payments. And one's going to be burial plus 12 months of mortgage payments. Now, what I do want to find out is I want to find out if you're actually eligible for a plan that I'm looking at right now. Are you familiar with HIPAA, Medical Information Bureau?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, and just to refresh you, HIPAA is just a privacy act that says that we're not going to share your medical information with anybody. At this point, I grab my client profile, okay? And this is where you can start to get some sensitive information that's going to be on the application. I put this in front of me. We're just going to run a quick HIPAA authorization, Mike. You just go ahead and confirm your cell phone number for me. He confirms it. Can you confirm your email for me? He confirms it. And can you confirm your social? He confirms it. And I don't even look up from the paper, okay? Because when you're asking for sensitive information and you're like looking somebody in the eyes, it's like super combative. So when I'm looking down at the form, it's not me who needs the sensitive information. It's the form that needs the sensitive information. Okay. So I'm like, okay, confirm your cell phone, your email, your social. And it's just like the social just like slips out of their mouth. I don't know what it is, but like if you're weird about asking for their social, they're going to be very weird about giving it to you. They're going to be uncomfortable. But like the more you control the appointment, the more that the sensitive information just comes, because the more yeses I'm getting. So I've already gotten Mike to say yes like 6 times with trial closes, and you can see why that'd be valuable, right? Yes. And you can see why that'd be valuable, right? And you can see why that would make sense, right? Yes. So now when I ask for the social, it's just, he gives it to me. So your phone number, easy. Email, easy. Social, it's just like it's the next question on the list and it just comes out of their mouth. Okay. So you keep it super simple. So now at that point, Mike's somebody that, typically if he did not have COPD, I would go and try to run Americo. I would try to run the prescription check, and I'm just going to give you guys this. In most situations, if they don't have a heart attack, stroke, cancer, COPD, kidney, liver disease, you can run the prescription check with Americo. It can let you know if it's going to go through or not. If it's going to go through, then you show your prices, 30, 20, 10. If it's not going to go through, you either call your manager and get a backup of what you do after that. Most of the time, your manager will tell you what to do. But in this scenario, COPD, I'm going to go Aetna. Okay. And if you're brand new and you don't know anything about products, at this point, once you have trial closed and you've got them bought into the concept, you call your manager. Hey, Grady, I'm sitting here with Mike. He's 65, truck driver, making $3,000 a month. He is diabetic. He's on metformin and insulin. He's high blood pressure medication and cholesterol. And he does have COPD. Now, what he's looking for is he's looking to take care of burial, as well as potentially leave a couple of mortgage payments behind for his son so he doesn't lose the house. Do you have any questions? At that point, Grady's going to coach me. He's going to be the quarterback in my ear, tell me exactly what to do, what to say. He's going to coach me to do 30, 20, 10, all the stuff I'm coaching you guys to do right now. And He's going to say, okay, based on the COPD, Jamie, our goal is to get Mike immediate coverage. Okay. If we can avoid any type of waiting periods or anything like that, we want to do that. So Aetna, Ascendo, there's 3 rate classes: preferred, standard, and modified. Luckily, Ascendo has a standard rate class for COPD. So write them up: Aetna, Ascendo, standard. Perfect. Thank you so much. That's exactly what I was thinking too. That's important when you're brand new. Peter Unger is like the king of that. And he taught me that. Every time that I got off the phone with him, he would say, perfect, Jamie. That's exactly what I was thinking too. Because when you're brand new and you're in the home, you have no idea what you're going to do. You have no idea what direction to go. So you look at, I look at Mike, I'm brand new, and I go, okay, Mike, I'm like 99% sure what direction we're going to go here. But just to confirm, I'm going to call my senior underwriter at the office just to get a second opinion. Then I call Grady. Hey, Grady, you got time for a second opinion? Boom. Thanks, Grady. That's exactly what I was thinking too. Also, never call your manager on speakerphone in the home, ever. They are there to coach you in your ear. If you put it on speakerphone, they don't have the ability to coach you. They're going to say, Aetna, Ascendo, goodbye. If you guys ever call on speaker, I can typically tell. And then as soon as you get out of the home, I'll say, never do that again, because it's unprofessional with the client. And also I don't get the ability to coach you and be the quarterback in your ear. So Aetna, Ascendo, perfect. That's exactly what I was thinking. Thanks, Grady. Click. Open up my Aetna quote tool. I write out, 30,000, 20,000, 10,000. And we'll say, 30,000 is going to be, we're just going to do simple numbers. 30,000 is going to be 200 a month. 20,000 is going to be 150 a month. And 10,000 is going to be 100 a month. And I'll break it down like this. Okay, break it down real simple. So I write 30K, 20K, 10K. Underneath it, I write 1 year of payments, 6 months of payments. Okay, so I break this down for Mike. I go, okay, Mike, so we've got 30,000. It's going to be 200 a month. 30,000 is going to take care of your burial. And it's also going to take care of about 1 year worth of mortgage payments for Mason. 20,000, it's going to be 150. It's also going to take care of your burial and about 6 months of mortgage payments for Mason, so he doesn't lose the house. And we got 10,000, which is going to take care of your, burial here. So, I'm seeing here, you got about 3,000 in income, about 1,500 going out on just the mortgage. So Mike, my goal here is we want to make sure that this doesn't take food off the table. I'm not even allowed to show you something that's going to take food off the table, but I'd be doing you a disservice if I didn't at least show you the max amount that you could qualify for. So of those 3 options, we got the 30, 20, and the 10, 1 year worth of mortgage payments, 6 months, or just straight burial. Which one of those do you think makes the most sense, or kind of how can we adjust?
Well, let's do the top option.
Let's do the top option. Okay. So the top option is 30,000 for 200 a month. That's going to get you 1 year worth of mortgage payments plus burial. So that's 200 a month, Mike. Now, one of the most important things that I always tell all my clients is this is life insurance, and the only life insurance that matters is the one you actually have when you die. So we need to make sure that you can actually keep this. So we need to make sure that this can actually disappear into your budget, so that when, God forbid, the tires pop on your car, or the roof leaks on your house, or, Christmas comes around with the grandkids, this isn't the first thing that's like looming over your head every month it comes out, that you're like waiting to cancel when it gets hard. So let's pretend, Mike, like right now, let's say you're doing pretty good, but if you had a hard month, if you had a hard week, is $200 something that could actually disappear into your budget?
Yeah, we'll be good.
Okay, so $200 could disappear into your budget. Okay, great. At this point, I just star off the top, 30,000. And now at this point, I also look down. I don't look them in the eyes. Okay, Mike, let's go ahead and submit a request for coverage. Go ahead and grab me your driver's license and either a voided check or something with banking information on it. And if they get up to go get it, you got the sale. And if they don't get up, get ready for an objection. Okay. And at that point, it's just all about slowing down the process. So we'll do 2 different things. We're going to go 1, he goes and gets the check, and what happens next? 2, he doesn't go to get the check. So when people don't go to get the check, Or, I say, go get the voided check or something, banking information, whether it's the little membership card in their wallet, or they have their member ID on their phone, on their banking app, routing and account number. That's what we're looking for. That's why we get a voided check. It just makes it really simple because it has all the information there at the bottom. But if they don't go get a check, I don't have a check, don't let that be an objection. You just say, okay, perfect, no big deal. My computer here actually already has the routing number. Who do you bank with? Banks with Chase. Okay, perfect. I got the routing number here for Chase. I literally just Google Chase routing number, North Carolina, pops up. All right, perfect. All right, go ahead and find me your account number. It'll be either on one of your bank statements, your mobile app, voided check, membership card, anything like that. Once again, he goes to get it. Fantastic. I got the sale. If they don't go to get it, now at this point, most people kind of like put up their boxing gloves, like they're like ready to go at it with the client with objections. This is not the time for that. It's the time for you to slow down. Okay, when you get an objection at the end, because our goal is to avoid all the objections. But if you're getting an objection at the end, like, why do you need my banking information? Well, I just want to think about it. I'm not ready to actually do something today. This is where you slow down and you explain the process. Okay, Mike, so all that we're doing today, and we can't even make a decision today because the insurance company still has to make a decision on you. We just said, I know that this is important to you, Mike. We just talked about how important this is for you and for Mason. And you said that $200 could definitely disappear into your budget. But like I said, we're not making a decision today. I don't even know if you're eligible. You got a lot of things going on, COPD, et cetera. You're diabetic, blood pressure. I got to see if you can even get qualified. Like, there's a huge difference, Mike, between a quote and a qualification. Okay. So my job is to see if you can actually get qualified. And obviously, if you get qualified, the insurance company, they're of course going to want their first premium. They're going to give you 30 days worth of insurance. And at that point, you'll have 30 days to adjust it up or down, change the policy in any way. So does that make sense?
Makes sense.
Okay, perfect. So go ahead and grab me your driver's license and that voided check. I'm just right back to it. And I'm not going to go super deep into this part. If you guys really want to, Paul McLean just came out with an incredible video on objections just a couple of days ago. It's a classroom style objection training video on his Monday morning wake up call. Fantastic video where he does like 7 think about it. And he has an objection to overcome 7 different ones. And every single time, perfect. Go ahead and grab me your driver's license right at the end. Perfect. Go ahead and grab me your driver's license. So we'll just pretend that Mike's easy. And he goes and gets the driver's license. He gets the voided check. Perfect. Now, I haven't really built any rapport with Mike at all through this entire thing. Some people, they come in and they become their best friend. I've been pretty much all business up to this point. But now that I'm actually filling out the application, this is when I start building rapport, especially because there are a couple questions on the application, like how long has the proposed insured lived at this address? So how long have y'all lived here? 7 years. Okay, perfect. And where were you born? You grew up around here? No, I was born in Baton Rouge. Okay, got it. Perfect. And I'm pulling this stuff out of them. And I'm also just, at this point, asking questions. Whenever I sit down with somebody who is older than me, I look at their situation and I try to find something during the application process that they have more knowledge or wisdom on than me. Okay, so I'm a new dad. So anytime that I meet somebody who has a kid, even if they're adult children, I go, hey, so my baby's like 11 weeks old and you obviously have a son who's grown. You got any advice for me on how I can be a good dad? Or if I meet somebody who's been married for, how long y'all been married? 40 years. Perfect. I've been married for 2 years. You guys got any marriage advice? And I let them talk while I'm filling out the application. So now at this point, I'm the insurance expert, but they're the marriage experts. I'm the insurance expert. He's the expert at being a father. I'm the insurance expert, but they're the expert at whatever it is. I try to find something that can get them talking while I'm filling out the financial inventory. And then at that point, now it's where we're building rapport. Okay. So I'm building rapport. I'm going through the application. I have everything that I need. The only thing that I need from Mike is a signature at the end. Depending on the application, sign on the dotted line, or I just need him to agree to a voice prompt or give me a security question signature, one of those two. So that's typically what I'm doing during the application process. Okay. So, that's a real simple in-home for you guys. At that point, then I just go into cementing the sale. And I have a video on YouTube about cementing the sale. You guys can watch that one as well. What I actually do, what I leave behind, I leave the folder, I write down the policy info. So I finish up the application, it's going to say, approved on the spot or sent to underwriting, no matter what happens. I write down Mike Curry, Aetna Ascendo final expense, benefit 30,000, the premium 200, the policy number, the effective date. I circled the carrier on the credibility sheet. I shove it in a folder and I go, okay, Mike. So I walk it back through it. We've sent in an application to get approved with the company Aetna. We don't know if you're going to get approved yet. So we're going to give you a call back in 2 days to find out if you can actually get approved. I have an assistant who calls for me. So if you have an assistant, a virtual assistant, you can say, hey, my assistant's going to call you in 2 days. Look out for that phone call, or I'll call you in 2 days to let you know if it's been approved. If you tell them you're going to call them, actually call them. Okay, that's important because people will cancel not because they don't want the insurance, but because you didn't do what you said you were going to do. They'll cancel just because of that. So keep that in mind. So my assistant's going to call you in 2 days to let you know if you've been approved. If you have been approved, the physical policy will come in the mail in the next 1 to 2 weeks. When it does come in the mail, please just shove it in this folder and put it where you keep your important documents. Does that sound fair? Yeah, that sounds fair. Cool. And Mike, this is like a really, really cheesy question, but they require me to ask it. Are you satisfied with the job that I've done for you today?
Man, you're good. You've done everything.
Hey, I appreciate it, man. So I always ask that at the end because it leaves a positive taste in their mouth, especially even if I have like a skeptical person who, reluctantly submitted the request for coverage. I say that and I make it funny because I'm like, hey, they require me to ask this. Have I done, a satisfactory job today? Are you satisfied with the job that I've done for you today? And I kind of say it in like a sarcastic tone. I'll be like, all right, they require me to say this. So like, are you satisfied with the job that I've done for you today? And they always laugh and they're like, yes, I'm really satisfied. Perfect. Let me go ahead and mark that down in my notes. And at that point, I take behind the client profile, the financial inventory, the voided check, put it in a folder on my side, put it in my bag. Okay. If you have any final questions, just send me a text, give me a call, and I'd be more than happy to come back over, walk you through the policy, answer any questions. Otherwise, look out for a phone call from us in the next 48 hours to let you know if you've been approved. Nice to meet you. Have a fantastic day. So simple as that. Now, the biggest thing is it's all structure, it's all control, it's all leading them of here's what we're going to do. It's if they have any, just like when we're on the phones, when we talk about, looping back, we do the exact same thing in the homes. He gives me an objection on the voided check. I don't make it a big deal. I don't make it a big deal. And then I overcome the objection and then I loop back with, all right, now go grab me your driver's license. It's like, I give them a direction. Okay. So yeah, that's how you take control in the home. And that's an in-home structure.